They spray-painted boat trash across my uncle's vintage cruiser while I was sleeping in the cabin. Neon orange, 8 inches tall, still dripping down the side when I stumbled out at 6 in the morning. The aerosol can was still hissing. The stench of spray paint hit me before the sight did chemical bitter, like the kind of warning meant to stick in your lungs, not just your memory. That boat survived 30 years of wind, snow, and ice storms in the Montana Rockies without so much as a dent. It was my uncle's pride and joy. Now it looked like a billboard for shame, a walking target. And duct-taped to the windshield, a violation notice from the HOA telling me to move the boat within 72 hours or face $500 daily fines. The reason: unsightly ripples. Ripples. That was the moment I realized I wasn't dealing with neighbors. I was dealing with enemies. See, I'd just inherited this lakefront cottage after my Uncle Roy passed. Man was a legend, built everything by hand, never owed a dime to anyone, lived 30 years up here without bending a single knee to bureaucracy. When he left it to me, I thought it was a fresh start. I was a Navy logistics officer for 2 decades, ran supply chains across oceans, but after the divorce, I needed something that felt like mine. I thought this place would be peace. Then I met her, Brenda Copeland, HOA president. Always in beige linen suits, clipboard clutched like a badge of honor, white Escalade polished like it had never seen dirt. Her house sat across the lake, modern glass monstrosity, basically a giant middle finger to my uncle's cabin. She introduced herself with a smile so tight it could slice rope. We try to maintain a certain aesthetic here. That was week 1. Week 2, she marched down my dock in high heels at sunrise, click, 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 like a countdown. Didn't say good morning, just pointed at the boat. Your vessel creates disruptive ripples and breaks the visual harmony of our lakefront community. I told her it was registered, insured, and had been here longer than any of the houses ringing this lake. She smiled. We'll see about that. Over the next few weeks, it was full-on psychological warfare. Certified letters, anonymous complaints to the county, a petition signed by 12 neighbors claiming my boat was disrupting community serenity. They said the engine noise, quieter than their lawnmowers, was a public nuisance. Meanwhile, leaf blowers and margarita parties went unnoticed. And then, they cut the dock lines. I came back from town one afternoon, arms full of groceries, and saw my uncle's boat drifting, scraping against shoreline rocks. Brand new gashes down the hull. Someone had sliced the lines clean. Not frayed. Not snapped. Sliced. That's when I flipped the switch. I treated this like an operation. Installed night vision cameras with backup storage in 3 time zones. Filed a police report, hired a surveyor, dug through county records, HOA bylaws, deed history, and somewhere down in my uncle's basement, past the old oil cans and army surplus bins, I found a yellowed envelope. Inside, a deed from 1924. It spelled out in legal language even I could understand that my great-grandfather had built the dam that created the lake and had retained full riparian ownership of the water. Every inch, every drop, every fish. This wasn't just property bordering a lake. This was the lake, my lake. For nearly 4 decades, the HOA had been collecting fees for maintaining a lake they didn't legally own. They'd built docks, platforms, and Brenda's precious meditation gazebo, all on water that belonged to me. Every fine they'd issued for boat violations, theft. Every maintenance assessment, fraud. So I called my lawyer, Sarah Kim Sharp, no-nonsense property law specialist with a resume full of buried HOA presidents. When she read the deed, she just laughed. This isn't a strong case. This is a tactical nuke. We filed an injunction that froze every HOA action related to lake use. Then came the settlement offer. I'd license lake access to all homeowners at $50 per household per year, way less than the $300 a month they'd been paying. All I asked was peace and Brenda's resignation. They tried to fight. Brenda called an emergency meeting, packed the room, projected photos of my boat like it was a battleship, claimed it was polluting the water. She even hired some so-called marine expert, a guy who rented kayaks, to say I was endangering wildlife. His report was written on coffee-stained paper towels. Then it was my turn. I stood up, walked to the projector, and put up the 1924 deed. I pointed to the language, showed the survey lines, handed out copies to every homeowner in the room. "You've all been trespassing on my family's property for 38 years, I said. I could sue every one of you, today. But I'm not here to punish anybody except the person who made this personal." Silence. Brenda turned red, then white, then green. A week later, her for sale sign went up. Dues dropped 40%. Harassment rules were slashed. I started a conservation scholarship in Uncle Roy's name using the settlement money. My daughter spent the summer with me. Learned to fish, learned to drive the boat, learned what it looks like when someone stands their ground. Now every morning I sit on that dock with a mug of black coffee watching the mist curl off the lake I legally and proudly own. The boat's still there. So are the ripples. And if Brenda ever comes back, she better bring a life jacket. Now let me ask you something. Do you think I did the right thing by licensing access instead of suing everyone into oblivion? Or should I have gone scorched earth the way they tried to with me? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me about your HOA nightmare. And if this story hit a nerve, subscribe and join us next week on HOA Stories, where we show bullies what happens when you pick the wrong neighbor.